Welcome to Therapy Talk Thursdays with EYPC. My name is Terrence Jones. I'm the regional director of this wonderful organization, and I am joined with the owner and CEO, Mrs. Tawanda Darden, and I have here with me today. Look, I put on a clean shirt. I threw some cologne on and everything because I have my wife, Mrs.
Yes.
She's joining us. She is a school counselor, master of education, and a school counselor, and she's going to be answering some questions, all things school counseling. Look, we know that school is about to start. In fact, school in Georgia has started. In other states around the union, it started. Virginia will be coming up soon, and so we want to equip you guys with some of the questions that you may have that pertain to mental health and education. And so we're going to dive right into that in a little bit, but before we get into that,
Yes.
we got something really special happening for August. So again, it's back to school season. Everybody's shopping. Everybody's doing their thing. We just came back. We stopped at a couple outlet malls, got some sneakers for the girls. Everybody got their back to school drive happening. And we know that it can be a burdensome expense for parents. So here's what we're doing right now for the month of August. For every show, we are giving away a $100 gift card to a fortunate recipient, but you got to be a live viewer and you got to have your student with you when you are watching. So once we get 50 live viewers, that will then open up the opportunity for everybody to compete and receive a $100 gift card. And you can use that for school shopping, for clothes, for supplies. We at EYPC, we just want to make sure we can ease that burden a little bit because, you know, it's expensive to send the kid to school, even public school these days.
Yes.
It is not cheap at all. I want to say a shout out to Shalonda Waller. Thanks for joining us today as we get into this conversation. And look, everybody go ahead after this, go visit us at our website, ey4pc.com, to learn about our mental health services in your area. Mr. Sumler, welcome. And no, you are not eligible. You cannot be eligible for the $100 gift card. You can turn some people in and have them apply. What's going on, Earl Carter? Thanks for joining us. Check out our website, ey4pc.com. And if you are in need of a crisis, go ahead and hit that national hotline number at 988. You can give us a call at 804-789-1314 if you want to know about what we do. But without further delay, Melissa, how are you doing today?
I am great. I'm great. I'm really happy to be here. I think it's really important, or I appreciate you guys kind of bringing light to what school counselors do and how we add to the school as a whole. I'm excited to add my 2 cents.
All right. And look, this is very helpful because Tawanda just sent her son back to school today. Today. So yeah, if you see her face, she's getting that feeling, you know, every year our babies each year, they no longer are babies. And what grade is he in? He's in the 7th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Wow. Almost 5'6.5".
Whoa.
You ready to play a point guard position? Getting 18 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists. I love it. I love it.
I love it too. And his mama gonna knock his head off. He do something crazy. How Melissa? Yup, exactly.
That's why you gotta have eyes everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know, you guys bring up a point because one of the things that Tawanda, we like about our girls' school is it is really community based. You know, not knocking anybody, you know, anybody who's watching, not knocking, but the principal is a Black woman. And, you know, when you have a principal who's educated, a Black woman watching over your daughters, you feel better about that. You feel really good. The school is, you know, right down the street. We can drive there. Everybody seems to know everybody. Administrators are real supportive. Teachers are really supportive. And so that helps. That really helps a lot because when you're sending your children to a school and you know that the administration, the teachers care about your kids' well-being, boy, that takes some stress off. It
Mhm.
really does.
Mhm.
And one of the things, school counselors can help with that. But before we continue, Melissa, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your profession, before we start getting into these questions.
Yeah, so yes, a school counselor. I've been a school counselor I'm going into my ninth year. Um, and I've been a school counselor at two different districts. But I've been in education for the past 20, I'm going into my 22nd year in education. I started out as an elementary teacher and, just hearing some of the kids and how they talk to me and pull me aside. I was like, okay, I got to do a little bit more. So I went back for my school counseling degree. And then shortly after, I started being a school counselor. And I had the opportunity to be a high school counselor. So I went from the babies to high school for counseling, teaching the babies and going to high school for counseling. And I I love it. Absolutely love being with the older kids. I love the elementary for the time, but it was time to move up to the older kids, and I would never look back. I would say that this is my passion, working with the youth.
Awesome.
So,
That's awesome. So when I was in school, right, I saw my school counselor maybe once in my 4 years in Henrico. Shout out to Miss Manning. Um, and the reason I remember that one time is because it was a time where she directed me and one of my friends to get a job. Outside of that, I never saw my school counselor. Tawanda, did you interact with your school counselor when you were in high school?
No, unless there was a fight or I was in the fight. Uh, or they just wanted some information about a situation. I've never had that type of
mm,
relationship
Mm.
with my school counselor or even know what they did, honestly.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, and so I bring that up because Melissa, tell people exactly what school counseling is, and then you can go on a little bit about what a school counselor actually does, because I'm not sure that everybody knows what you do. So, what is school counseling?
Yeah, so school counseling has really evolved over the years, and prior to us coming on, to one of you said guidance counseling, and that makes us cringe, I will say.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
what we know them
because
as. So in the country, we call them guidance counselors.
yeah, no, no, no. That's so far from what we are or who we are, what we
Okay.
do. So yes, back in the day, before the 80s, believe it or not, our name changed from guidance to school counseling in the 80s. And the reason is because, and I'm, probably jumping ahead, but um, we affect all students in the school versus just the college going or helping them fill out applications and all of that. But essentially, what school counseling is, or what school counselors are, is we provide instruction, we appraise, or we kind of assess what's happening in the school, and we advise and we counsel students to help develop their different skills and tools that's needed to achieve academic success or even college and career readiness, or even social and emotional development. So we affect the whole child, every student in the building, affecting the whole child.
I
Um,
like that. I like
yeah,
that.
and
I
we
like
do
that.
this to remove any so what we do is we look to make sure that there are no barriers in the academic setting, and of course, like I said, we support their social emotional development, and again, guiding them to help them figure out what college and career decisions that they need or want to
Mhm.
go into. And we do this through small group counseling,
Okay.
classroom lessons, or individual counseling.
Yeah, that's good to know as a mom because having a son, and he's 6% of the counties, what
Wow.
he looks like,
Mhm.
and him having a place where he can feel safe to go talk to someone. And I remember last year, he really struggled with trusting his guidance counselor
Mm.
because one, she didn't look like him. Two, he felt that if she go to him, she was gonna chastise him versus talk to him, and so he developed anxiety in sixth
Mm.
grade, right? So I think it's so important how you said we deal with the whole child. We
Yeah.
just don't deal with the academics or the high school kids, because now you're giving me another perspective. Because they didn't teach us that in mental health counseling.
Yeah.
Guys got school counselors do. So that tells me, because I don't see that.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a parent. I'm a mama. I have a middle schooler, so I want to know what's available to him. I
Yeah.
want to know how can they make sure that I know my son's safe when he walks in that building.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank
You
you for
know,
And
go ahead, Melissa.
And no, I will say that, if you are an educator that goes into school counseling, at heart, you are, I mean, everybody has some sort of bias, or,
right.
those things going on, but at heart, we are truly here to help all of our students,
Yeah.
in whatever way possible. And now I could be speaking for myself, but all of the my colleagues that I've worked with, it really doesn't matter what student comes before us. We want to help every student in every way possible.
Yeah, yeah. I see Earl saying we didn't have that at all. Principal and vice principal is all we had.
That's all we had.
Wow.
That's
Oh
all we
man.
had.
This conversation does bring up again the available resources, because education is, and Melissa, you may agree with this, but education is just not student to teacher. And I
Right.
don't know if it's ever been that way really, but that's just all that's been available. But it's always a group. It's coaches, it's mentors, it's counselors, it's
Right.
administration, it's cafeteria workers, it's janitors, all of these things. And these things are important. Resource officers, they're all important to bring out, the full education of the child, as you're referring to, Melissa. So, I mean, it's good to know that these resources are available.
Hmm.
What are some of the myths, though? Because, so you already addressed the guidance counselor thing.
Yeah, she said I ain't no guidance counselor.
I'm not.
I'm a whole school counselor. Let's be
Yeah.
clear.
Already
And I
put
like
that-
that, because we can be staying corrected, because again, that's what they're still calling them in the country, in the
In the
Northern Neck,
country.
Yeah.
guidance counselors. They
Yeah.
haven't even switched over from the 80s. They're still in the 80s.
Yeah. 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 So, back in the day, you had the guidance counselor just sitting at the desk, maybe filing some papers, maybe just not even necessarily meeting with teachers or meeting
Right.
with the principal. But now that's what we do. We actually sit and collaborate with other stakeholders, including parents, including the leadership in the building, and other teachers, to figure out, again, like I said before, what barriers this student is having and how I can assist with that. So, like I said, we work with the students with student academic planning. So we're actually sit with students even from ninth grade. And this is a state mandate that we're supposed to create academic and career plans. So we sit with ninth graders, and it's supposed to start in the middle school, where we talk with the student. What is it that you plan to do after high school? Know that this is not set in stone. And then so we look at what they want to do, and we kind of place them as best as we can in classes that would foster that area or that field that they want to go into.
Right.
And then, of course, if students chronic absenteeism is a big topic now, and we do help with that. So we work with the school social workers to contact parents and just figure out where that gap is, or where it is that they're not, whatever need they that's not met for them to come to school, or that's keeping them from coming to school. Will say we're not always successful, but we are a part of that conversation. Um, Definitely talking to students about their future careers and helping them make the best decisions in their future careers. I am one, I'm not a school counselor that's going to always point a student to college. That's not what we do right now in the district where I work, and even my previous district. Our goal is the three E's: to enroll, to guide you, or to lead you to enroll, enlist, or employ. So whatever your area is, we're going to help lead you to that goal. So, and stop me if you have a question, because I'll keep going and going.
No, you're good.
That's good.
So what you're saying is it's because we're on the mental health side, and when you were going through your graduate program, there was a significant amount of mental health
Mm-hmm.
involved in that. But I also hear you talking about things that are more driven towards skill building, um, possibly career development. How do you mix all of that in? How does that work? Because I don't want to share too much because of obviously the confidentiality and the HIPAA regulations.
Right.
But I know what you've done, which includes that other side. How do you kind of blend the two?
Well, yeah. So, I've had many parents who have called, excuse me, who have called me and, Miss Jones, my student or my child is, from behaviors in the home to, my child has high anxiety. How can I help my child? How can you help my child? And so, um, various ways. So we assess, like the school, we give out, oh gosh, now the name is slipping my mind. Um, like a student's needs assessment, and we see what the needs of the school is, from academics to social, emotional, like I said. um, and so we provide, based on those needs, we provide the classroom lessons, or we provide the individual counseling, or we have small groups. So this year I did have a small group lesson on self-esteem. And of course we can't force every student to join in on those small group lessons. But students, I had about 10 students in my group, and
Oh,
so
that's
those are
good.
some ways that we help with anxiety or self-regulation and stuff like that. But of course, like as I was saying before, that we do have those instances where parents call in, how can you help my child? And so personally, I always call my student in, and I kind of help them with building some skills or some tools, some self-regulation strategies. But a lot of our counseling in school is brief counseling. We don't have the, I have to say my words carefully. Um, I mean, for lack of a better term right now, just the time to
Right.
devote to having an extended counseling session with students who may have anxiety or depression or, major behavior disorders and all of that. So a lot of what we do is kind of like triage a little bit. We talk with them, we give resources, and then we refer on
Well,
to.
yeah, well, I was about to say because Tawana, that's kind of where we come in, right?
Correct.
So talk a little bit because here's something else that I know a lot of people might not know about. So there are certain meetings that happen, IEP meetings, resource meetings, and
Fat meetings. Yeah.
we're invited to the table of these schools to let our viewers know how we come in on that. So you've got the school counselor working, but then Melissa's right; they don't have the time.
Correct.
But we do. So talk about how we come in and help with that, with assisting the school counselor.
Me.
Me
Oh,
or Mel-
Tawana.
Okay, so some of the things we can offer is we definitely go in advocating for our children, especially with IEPs, 504s, because a lot of our families are not educated on what their rights are, on what access that they have, on what does it look like to make sure that all of their accommodations are met. So a lot of times we go in advocating, educating. Then as private providers, we also, excuse me, Dr. Lowell's about to join. We also can go in and counsel kids in the school. I know a lot of providers that have offices in the school because the schools have more children than one counselor can really be successful of helping, right? We've been to, especially in Georgia, we go to schools, we help with 1013s, which we call TDO in Virginia, and we provide that type of cognitive care that our children need to help them sustain to be successful, right? Because it's hard when you may have one child over here who is having a whole panic attack, and another child over here that's having thoughts of suicide, and
Right.
another child back here that's been in a fight and now want to blow up the school. And you only got really 1 to 2 guidance counselors in a whole school
Yeah.
with about 1,000 kids, right? So I do
Right.
understand
Mhm.
how you said we just don't got the time, and it's okay because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here because we do got the time. We're here because we do have the clinical experience. We're here because we can get our kids back regulated and get them the other supports they need. Maybe connect them to a psychiatrist. Maybe they do need to go to the hospital. Maybe they need an evaluation. So that's when we come in to help you all. But I guess the next question will be is, how do we get in to help you all?
So, well, I want to go back just a bit, and this is the reason why I was so careful with saying the time factor. So, we've had a lot of people advocating um, for with General Assembly and all of that to
Mm-hmm.
allow more counselors in our building so that we have more time to meet with more students. And
Right.
so the goal is to get to 250 to 1 student, but it's still 250 to 1. And at my school, I have on my caseload, I have 300 to 1 counselor. But we have 6 counselors in our building. So, you do the math. But
You got
still,
600 kids in population.
it's about just
16,
about
6 times 3
16.
is 1,800, right?
Yeah,
So
just
you got
about,
1,800 kids in the. Okay, wow.
just about. Yeah.
How's that working out for you all, though, when you talk about safety? For you all. I'm thinking about you all now, safety. How does that work out for you all?
As far as safety,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you guys said a lot of that you have never met your counselor. There are some students that don't come and speak with us because they have other trusted adults in the building.
Okay.
Um, I, for one, I make sure that I go out and meet my students. I want to know them. So, I'm not the one that stays in my office a lot. I want to go out in the hall. And, while that's not any of our duties, we go out and we meet our students. But as far as safety, um, I don't know that. And are you asking, like, as far as if we have a student who is met with suicidal thoughts or just safety overall,
Or do
period?
Safety
you feel
overall.
safe? Do you
Do you
feel
feel
safe?
safe?
Oh yeah.
300 kids to 1.
Yeah, absolutely. You
We'll
know,
say, listen, I'm about that life.
yeah, no, I mean, of course, we're dealing with all
A
these
lot.
different personalities in
Yeah.
our building. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot.
Hmm.
I think that school counselors, we have a different type of relationship with our kids. So it's um, not so much punitive. We are more of like the advocate or the friend for our students. That's how I like to say. I mean, of course, there are boundaries,
Right.
but and there are times when I build that strong relationship with my students. I do get on them, in a punitive way, but they're able to receive that.
Right.
But as far as safety, I mean, that's why we have our admin and we have the SROs and we
Okay.
have the SS. We do have, you know, protection in the building. So I don't think safety, for the most part, is an issue.
I like that.
Yeah.
Dr. Wells just joined us, and he can probably talk about this. We had a client here in Georgia, and the guidance counselors was terrified.
Wow.
And they was like, y'all need to come. Like, we don't know what to do. Like, they were scared for their life. And I think she swung at one of them. Am I mistaken, Dr. Wells?
The counselor swung?
No, the child swung at the counselor.
Wow.
And so that's why I was asking about safety. And
Mm.
this is probably one counselor to about what, 400, 500 kids, Dr. Wells? Because they got
Yeah,
like
so
2,500 kids in the school.
I mean, basically, they do the back and forth. They're going between schools. I think some of them,
Yeah, one go circulate to 4 schools.
yeah, and I had to be mindful of what we were talking about today because I was going to let it out today.
We ain't talking about IEPs and 504s. That's next.
I know. We were going to have a conversation about, even with this, I won't talk about IEPs and 504s, but even with that situation with school counselors, it's like the concern where we are in Georgia, like, I don't know if this is happening in Virginia, where you're getting a big shift where you're getting quality counselors and teachers are now moving into completely different areas.
Yeah.
And then it's leaving these huge gaps
Yeah.
in these other areas. And so I had a full knockdown drag out with somebody the other day and was like, this is where you get gentrification. You get a gentrification because now when all the quality people go in one area, and then you got to try to either put in someone who's brand spanking new as a counselor who has zero to no, experience.
Mm-hmm.
We understand they got to get the experience, but now you said, oh, you got to go between two schools and you're assigned 300. It's a trickle down effect. And even like just then, before I got on, I had a child that's already like very afraid to go back to school. One of the reasons is because of how he was treated by the school counselor.
Oh no.
So you're having those conversations with the child and with the parent. And like I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna check back in 30 minutes because they start tomorrow. And it's a lot. So even just this topic today is so important because I remember going to school, and I'll make this story quick. I remember going to school in my hometown, and I saw my school guidance counselor twice. First when I got there in the 9th grade, and then the last day before graduation, he called me in and he says, hey, you graduated, and you're in the top 10 of your class. In my mind, I'm getting ready to go in the Navy, I'm getting ready to go in the military. I'm like, that's great. How's this going to help me pay? But what he didn't tell me was that they had a $50,000 scholarship. They made sure 2 white students got those scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
None of the black students knew about it. When we were sitting there on that front row as a top 10, it was me and 3 other black students. And that guidance counselor made that announcement, handed that scholarship over. We looked at each other and said, did y'all know about this? Nope.
Mm.
So
Melissa, how do you keep students informed like that, or make sure, because you say every student doesn't come to you, but I know you try to do your best to make sure students are aware of the opportunities and resources available to them. How do you do that, or how does your team do that?
So we that's a loaded question, right? Because we have many sources of communication with our students. Of course, we have the email, and then we have our like
school portal.
Schoology. So that's like our intra, I guess, communication, and then of course announcements. But so you guys said earlier before that before we came on that you never, and you just said it, that you never met with your counselor. So in my previous school, I told you guys that we meet with our students in freshman year, we meet with them again sophomore year, but definitely by junior year we meet with every junior. And in that meeting we go through lists of here's what you need to do so what do you want to do, is what's your avenue, where do you want to go, and then I give them information. If you are interested in a military, here's some which branch, here's the contact information for that recruiter. Or if you say you want to go to college, all right, so here are the steps. You're gonna you asked me about that website. So Common App is the website that you use to apply to many different schools, and so we give them all of that information.
What is the app called, Melissa?
It's Common App. Common, COMMON APP.
Is it commonapp.com or
you know what? That's a good question. I don't think it's .com. I'm gonna tell you just now.
Yeah, because we want our parents to be aware. So parents, if you're listening, please take this down. If you got a kid about to graduate, because we want to make sure they got access.
Yeah, .org, commonapp.org. And there's also a Common App for historically Black colleges that you can apply to many HBCUs on one website. So yeah, there's that. So in those meetings, we let students know, here is all that's available to you. I let my students specifically know about websites that they can apply to national scholarships. And then I let them know that in your senior year, here's where you will go to find all of the local scholarships. So the information is out there. Here's the other part, and this is why I say it's loaded. We have a lot of students who they don't take the information, they don't take the next step. They don't check their email. And so this is my plea to parents and students. Check your emails, go in and talk with your counselors. Again, we have 300 to 1, so we can't always get to everybody every day. We're going to get to everybody by the end of the year, but sometimes it's on the parent and the student to come in and advocate for themselves before the counselor as well. But the information is out there. So I can only speak for the schools that I've been a part of, but and we have done well to provide the information. Sometimes it's not taken and,
Ran with.
Use it.
I get it.
We got a question up here. Are there any fees to the app once you get in the app?
Yeah. So with Common App, there is a fee, yes. Because of, and slowly we're moving away from that, but because of COVID, there are a lot of schools that will offer fee waivers. But generally on Common App, you pay one fee and you apply to the different schools. In some cases, depending on the school, you may have to pay a separate fee for that school, for different schools. But generally, yes. Now on the HBCU Common App, there is a one-time fee for every, not every HBCU, I will say that. Not every HBCU, but many of them.
Okay. So when we just brought up, all of us have experiences of not really knowing their counselor. And now we got parents listening like, well, dang, what are they actually doing? So share with our parents what they should expect from their school counselor.
So I'm going to go back a little bit to the mental health piece, and then I'll keep going if that's okay.
That's good.
So I will say in the district where I am, they are offering all of the school counselors who are willing to take additional, what they call micro credentials, or additional courses that will prepare us to work with students and the mental health needs. So we are getting additional training. We are a part of the mental health, school-based mental health team. They consider us a part of the school-based mental health team. So we are equipped. It's just a matter of, sometimes we're spread so thin. So you can expect us to be available to help your child with any mental health concerns. You can expect us to be available to you by appointment. I will say that. So sometimes I think parents, they think we're just in our offices just waiting, but a lot of times we're dealing with so much throughout the day that they want to pop up. But you can get us best if you call and make an appointment. But you can expect us to be available, to be open, to provide workshops for you. I will say in my current district and my previous district, we offered different workshops or different information sessions, and the attendance is kind of low at times.
And you're talking about workshops for parents?
For parents.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's all surrounding how to help your child, whether it be college or career or stuff like that. You can expect open communication. You can expect us to collaborate. A lot of times my parents will call me and they're so appreciative, and I say to them, we're partners in this, so you do your part on your side, I'm doing my part here, and we collaborate. We come together to help your child be successful. For me, you can expect a trustworthy environment. You can expect to trust us with your child. And then, you can also expect us to support your child, but also support you as a parent. I don't know. I think I have like this way with parents. Sometimes they like to latch on to me even after I leave, Terrence, and I think it's because I always like to add that praise to the parents at the end. Like, you are doing an excellent job. Like I can think specifically
Gratification.
of one parent this year, a mom of a son. She's a single mom, and she calls all the time and she wants to know, what's going on there. Can you just let me know? And I say, you know what? I want you to know that your son has attended. He was a junior last year. Your son has attended every information session for colleges. He's always in my office asking questions. He's doing everything that you have taught him to do. Trust what you have instilled in him. And he's a teenager. He's gonna do different things, but you have done an excellent job, So I like to just encourage them and add that praise to them. So you can expect support from your school counselor.
So, what do you say to parents? What do you say to a child? I want to stick right there. They don't have that parent support, or maybe in a home where they are being raised by a grandmother or
Yeah.
guardian, and they don't have the resources to get back to the different outings or things y'all have for people to apply for scholarships or know what's available. How do you? What do we say to that? Because in the rural areas, there's not transportation, so
Mm.
or I don't have a ride to get there if it's after school. So are y'all doing this during the school time, after school? Can you kind of tell us what that look like? And what can we say to a child that don't have that type of support at home? Someone's going to pick up the phone, build relationship with you, so that child can be successful.
Yeah. So that's very often. I would more than not. Um, so I know. Unfortunate but fortunate, the pandemic has opened up a lot of different creative ways to reach out to
Right.
parents. So a lot of times we did house visits, and parents were very, or grandparents were very appreciative that we took that extra step, to reach out to them, to especially with the chronic absenteeism. So doing those house visits to offer that support and give resources, and we're not going to reach them all.
Right.
But once I see that there is a parent or a student who doesn't have that parental support, as much as they should, then I take it upon myself to give that extra support there, or get some wraparound, from other support or other staff in the building, to help that student. And like I said, it's not always successful. With every good thing, there's going to be,
Every
um,
good thing. Right.
yeah. But we certainly do try to, offer that support and just get additional adults to help with those students. Yeah.
I like that though, because what you said was that COVID was bad, but then COVID also has some good points. So now we
Mhm,
are having more access to be creative, how
mhm,
people can get
mhm.
involved. If they don't have transportation, they can jump on a Zoom link
Yeah.
or a Teams meeting. So
Yeah.
I thank you
Oh,
for that.
yeah.
So young people, you don't can't make no excuses because
Right.
you can be on the phone texting all day. You can join a
Mhm.
link and get the information you need to get to the next level of your success.
Yeah, yeah, and as you said, there are so many different apps. There's Remind, there's that different
Mhm.
teachers use, and even social media.
Yeah, it's
I
always
know a lot of grandparents are not on social media, but we are certainly, as as a school system, or our school, we are definitely trying to use all of the different avenues to
right.
get information out there.
We're evolving. We're definitely evolving.
Mhm.
Melissa, you talked about the workshops that the parents can get that are available for them. Are there any type of training activities for teachers that school counselors kind of head to help them be able to recognize certain behaviors in their classroom?
Yeah, so actually, as we're headed back to school, there is, a training that we're supposed to give to our teachers so that they can recognize, signs of suicide in their classroom, and even, with social emotional learning in their classroom. So yes, we provide some of that training, or some of us provide that training to, the different teachers, and then. So actually, this summer I attended, a workshop which will hopefully I'll be able to facilitate some workshops for other teachers, but it's with being a oh gosh. um why can't I remember now? This always happens to me.
It's all right.
Um
I'm
come to me, come to me.
gonna shift it then. How do you all make sure that your teachers can handle triggers of our children? Like, are they familiar with diagnoses? Because you might have one kid that's ADHD and they can't handle someone yelling at them, or it's a kid with
Mhm.
ODD, opposition defiant, and you yanking something from them, or being very confrontation and make them act out. So are teachers equipped or educated um, to know these mental health diagnoses? And do they take time to even read the 504 IEP?
So that's a question that I don't know. I can't fully answer. They're supposed to, you
Okay.
know, best practice is for school counselors. So in the district where I am, we take care of we're the case managers for 504s. So we
Okay.
distribute that to our teachers, and we highlight those accommodations. And yeah, they're supposed to read it and they're supposed to follow. And we let them know that if this is not followed, then there's the Office of Civil Rights. There are steps after that.
Perfect.
um,
Mhm.
so and a lot of times, because educators were overloaded, and so at times they're just reminders like, hey, this student has this situation going on. Don't forget, that, gentle reminders. um, but yeah, for those students who may not have a 504 plan or an IEP, but we know that there's some things going on. Of course, there's that confidentiality piece. But I would let a teacher know, hey, without letting everything out of the bag, here's the student with this situation. um, just handle this situation with care. But a lot of times, there are some teachers who, um, without legal or legal documentation, they're not going to follow through. So then that's when we throw in, okay, let's put this on paper, let's get some signatures. Let's go through this process to see if the student is eligible for a 504 and IEP, so that legally now we are bound to provide these services. So yes, they go through this training. That is the best practice.
Okay.
So
We
yeah.
got a comment from Electric Red, says, I think teachers need to relate to students and place more emphasis on what a school counselor is there for. Many kids, especially in lower grade levels, have no idea that they can talk and express themselves to the counselor. Melissa, how much do you think that would help if more of the student body knew, one, who their counselor was,
Yeah.
two, all I got to do is make an appointment or stop by for a couple minutes? How do you think that would help in the overall education process for a kid?
Yeah, I mean, it would, because we're school counselors, right? And we affect the whole child. It would definitely aid in helping the students be successful in the school building in every area, because teachers can't handle all of the behaviors in their classroom.
Right.
So if the teacher knows, no, not that we're a babysitter, but
Correct.
if the teacher knows that we are a resource in the building, and we can help them manage this behavior or bring a student back to baseline and bring them back to the classroom ready to learn again, yeah, absolutely, that's going to help the teacher and the student. And I think for the most part, teachers do know that. Sometimes, and I say babysitter because sometimes teachers do send them down, and it's not,
Needed or
yeah,
necessary. I know.
fully needed, and it's not our lane.
Correct.
Because sometimes a behavior can get to a point where, okay, now this rests in at the admin's hand,
Admin. Right.
you know
That's now escalated.
yeah, but a lot of times, like, so students, and it disheartens me to hear, and this is my second year at the school where I am, but when I come to the door and I'm like, can I talk to such and such, the kids are like, ooh, and or the student would look at me like, and I'm like,
Like
honey,
they're in trouble. Right.
yeah, I'm like, I'm your school counselor. I'm here to help you. I am your advocate, not here because, as a matter of fact, I'm here as a step before you get into trouble, if
Right.
that's why I'm here, you know. So yes, it would be helpful or advantageous to that teacher to, spell it out plainly to that student. This is your school counselor, and this is why I'm here. And even us as school counselors, I think it's important at the beginning of the year, like during that teacher planning week, to stand up and advocate for what we do, because some teachers, they think we're in our office twiddling our thumbs too. um, but it's on us to advocate for our program and let them know why we're here.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, you're talking about some myths. One, school counselors aren't outpatient therapists, so
Right.
that's that there. But on the other hand, school counselors aren't just sitting there pushing papers either.
Right.
Right.
Well,
These things,
yeah. Yeah. And and you say pushing papers. So when you go from level to level to level, elementary to middle to high, um, there are different levels of, what we do. Elementary, you're more, you, you're there for the babies and to help them regulate and all of that. Middle school, you're really doing that counseling, that you're in the trenches. And then high school, you're doing some counseling, but it's a lot of added paperwork as well, because we're doing a lot of reports and college and career and all of that stuff.
So
So it
I'm sorry. I had a question. Have you ever, and you guys may have already talked about it because I got on late. Have you ever had to deal with a crisis that ended up being something like a major crisis that really hit a lot of students in the school? And how did you handle that when it occurred?
oh um yeah. um I'm saying I'm slow to answer because I'm trying to figure out how to answer that. Gosh, because there have been so many. But I think in a situation like that, the leader of the building kind of takes control of how they want that situation to happen. Um, and I see crisis. There's so many definitions under crisis, right? So there's, from a shooting in the building or a person in a building with a gun to, somebody that's having a mental health crisis. And I don't know how to answer that question. Like,
I guess I was
it's
just
so,
thinking like sometimes you know how each person who's done therapy or something, there's always that one event that just kind of sticks in their brain, that you could just really say, here was an example of when, the role of school counselor really stood out to me as
um,
far as with the client, with the parents, with whomever, you know.
yeah. So, yeah.
I
Well,
got one that I know.
So let me ask you a question, Melissa. Melissa, you got one, Terrence?
I got one. She doesn't remember this, but when I start talking about it, she'll remember it. But we were at an amusement park. It was a couple summers back, and we went to get, I think, an Italian icy or something. And working at the stand was someone that was on Melissa's caseload, and he was a young man that really loved driving and loved race cars, and it was just a hobby. But Melissa encouraged him to pursue it more than a hobby. And when we got the meal, he let us know that he was competing nationally for the amateur circuit. And that was a few years ago. So he might even be in a professional pit right now. And so here you go. You got a counselor. Yeah, you got this, this country kid. Hey, I like to drive. And the school counselor says, well, you might want to think about actually driving for real. And now he's a stock car racer, So
Yeah.
that stuck out to me because I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, you put this man on to be in a NASCAR racer? Like, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there's one of how you're even counseling outside of outside of your building. But crisis, yes. So this year, this was a first for me with this because now I'm in a school where there are a lot of different cultures. So I'm learning a lot about, like the Afghanis and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, students who are from Egypt and, all of
Yeah.
that. Um, and so I had one student, a lot of these families, they come to America and they don't understand the rules and the laws and what's acceptable and not as far as abuse. Um, and so this one student, um, so her sister, it came to our attention that her sister had a big bruise that was very visible, and they tried to hide it. And she did not understand a lot of English, but the older sister did, brought the sister in and found out that it was even more, it was the older brother, who was um, dishing out some of that abuse as well. And the sister was also abused. But, you know, I had to, of course, call CPS. So, we're mandated reporters. And, out of that, the student wasn't removed from the home, but the parent was able to be educated on, what the laws are, what's acceptable, what's not. But I do know of other situation, like another counselor where she had to go to court, um, and speak on this child's behalf because this student was receiving extensive abuse. It's a ton swirling in my mind now, where we are kind of like that safe haven for the child. And this is why creating that trustworthy, safe environment in our office is so important.
Yeah.
So that students can be open to speak. And we, like in my office, I have, it's stated, everything in here is confidential. And that's another thing you can expect, that what we say in what we talk about in our office, it is kept at the highest confidence, unless, and there are these three caveats,
Three
unless,
caveats.
yeah, you are
Yeah.
being hurt by someone, you want to hurt yourself, or you want to go hurt someone else, or you give me permission to allow another adult into this conversation. Um, and so, sometimes they're very trepidatious. They don't initially speak up, but eventually, they do, and we get them the help that they need. You know.
So, Melissa, recently, in the Northern Neck where I'm from, there were um, three young seniors just graduated. Three seniors just graduated. They was all best of friends in a bad car accident.
Mm,
And it shook the Northern Neck. It shook Essex County. And one did pass. The other two are doing better, thank God. And one thing that I saw that Essex did, and school is not even open, they opened their doors. They had professionals that come in and start meeting with the children if they needed to process.
mm,
So I did like how they was able to do something preventative to help kids feel comfortable and know they got support, because I think that bridge gaps, right? Because now I get a chance to have a relationship, right?
yep.
So I think when that question was asked, a lot of times, me being a parent, we got a scare that there was a shooter at my son's school, and they wouldn't let me in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm concerned. My son's phone wasn't answering. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, that's my son's school. And I'm calling my husband, like, yo, come home. Like, I'm losing it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
literally spiraling.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell a parent that may go through that this year?
Yes. Um, this is why it's important to develop these relationships with students and parents, because then that trust is built. And so, if I'm one of those persons answering the phone as parents are calling, my job is to help you feel, or remind you that this is a safe environment. They are safe in here, and that we are taking care of the situation, that the powers that be, the appropriate parties, are taking care of the situation, and just identify with your feelings, identify with the emotions that you're having, and help you get back to baseline to understand that your child is safe in the building, you know, and we go through these trainings for these situations.
Yeah.
um, to
And
make
that's what I
sure.
wanted to hear. I think parents need to know that they are getting trained
Yeah.
to handle crisis in the school,
Yeah.
whether it's a
Mhm.
shooting on the premises,
Yeah.
whether it's a mental health break,
Mhm.
whether it's a fight,
Mhm.
that they have people, they have professionals that's trained to make sure our kids are safe. Because I really want our kids to go back to school feeling like they can go in the building and being safe, but also our parents to be able to go to work and not thinking like, okay, what's going to happen today? Is
Right.
this going to happen? Because what we do know is happening, right? It
Yeah.
is really happening.
Yeah.
So I really wanted just to bring that out so our parents can know that, our staff at the schools are going to make sure our kids are safe.
Yeah.
However, build the relationship with the
Right.
guidance counselors. We did open house. My son has a new guidance counselor and a new principal. So guess what? He
Mhm.
didn't want to say, no, ma, let's go. I said, oh, no.
Mhm.
I need to know who they are. They need to know who I am, name and
Right.
face. They need to know who you are in
Right.
the event of. And so the lady's like, oh my God, I'm going to email you. Please let me know how we can. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Last year I didn't get that. But now, 'cause that was a little concern. Do I send him back? I think I told Terrence earlier. I'm not for sure if I made the best choice sending my kid back to school in this type
Yeah.
of environment with everything's going on. And because I that's my dude, right? That's my dude. And so I getting anxious and nervous. And my husband's like, yo, listen, God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He's fine. He's covered by the blood.
Right.
And so I had to get reminded, but I'm also human. I
Right.
became an hospital
Right.
doctor. I'm like, yo, I'm not okay today. He was like, what's
Yeah.
wrong? I said, Nehemiah, you went back to school because everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I remembered, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I remember the training that it's to be a trauma informed educator, and not only school counselors are going through that, but teachers as well are signing up to take these classes. So, you know, I will say that our district is doing a lot. They're recognizing the things that our teenagers, our students are going through, and they're providing the ways and means for teachers or educators to get this training. So yes, we are. We're getting
Appreciate
it.
that. We really appreciate all y'all doing to make sure our children are safe and making sure you safe. Because guess what? You got children, you
Right.
guys at home too.
Right.
So we definitely appreciate the extra mile they're doing now to make sure our children are safe. So
Yeah.
we know school counselors are special, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all get to know these school counselors. They want to love on you too and help you become a better you. But
Yeah.
they can't do that if you're pushing them away. So we got to have some
That's it.
accountability.
That's
What
it.
are we doing? Are we trying to make the connection?
That's it.
You know, a segue to that, you know, you talk about this being a partnership. So now let me flip it to well, what are some things that parents and students can do to help make your job more productive?
Easier.
Because at the end of the day, it's about them accomplishing their educational goals and even some of their social and athletic goals in that
Right.
school. So what can parents and children do to
Yeah.
help you do what you need to do?
So definitely, like Tawanda said, during open house or beginning of the school year, come introduce yourself to me in person, email, you know, whatever ways and means. Come and introduce yourself to me. I'm okay with you setting up an appointment to just sit with me and meet with me. Um, um, definitely talk about your child and the concerns that you have specifically about for your child. Um, and you know that conversation can bring about you know, some resources, some answers to questions that you didn't even know you had. So and then talk to your child about the benefit of coming to talk with me. You know, pump me up to your child, and let them know that I'm the resource that's here for you and your child. And don't come in thinking that you're going to be judged. We are open-minded at heart. We are supposed to be open-minded. Um, so don't think that you're going to be judged, and don't come in with a chip either. Don't come in with that chip on your shoulder. I remember one specific parent at my previous school. Oh, she was a tough one, and she came in hot. Um, Something with her child's class or schedule or something, and she was going in. I mean, cuss words and everything. And you know, I warned her. a few times, like, this conversation is not going to continue if you're going to disrespect me in that way. And then I reminded her, like, I am here for, and I want the same things that you want for your child. I want your child to be successful just the same. And whatever I have to do, once she came off the cussing and everything, I let her down, told her everything she
That's
needed
really
taken care,
good.
and then she busted out crying, and she's like, I'm so sorry, and I just want my child to, and I will say, this one parent, there's some parents that's like, my child is the greatest, and everybody thinks
Mhm.
that, so I'm appeasing her in that moment, and she's like, I'm so sorry. And ever since that, after that, this was 10th grade, and he was in 10th grade. And after that, every time she saw me in the community or in the school or whatever, she would look at me and smile. Hey, Miss Joe, you know, but don't come in with a chip. We are here for you. We are here for you. And then just be open to help. Be open when we refer you on, because what we have, our scope is, we can't give you what you need in that moment. Be open to the additional help or the additional resources that we give you. And then lastly, I'm going to say, respect your child's right. Yes, your child does have rights to confidentiality. You're not going to call your school counselor and say, tell me what my child said to you, because we have to respect, we're fostering a trusting environment
Right.
with this child, your child as well. And so everything we talk about, I'm not going to deliver to you unless it's those three things, hurt is involved. So just respect that. And if that trusting relationship is developed, that I'm sure the parent will understand. But yeah, definitely
Yeah.
respect that, right?
So Melissa, so I just had to put it out there, girl. I was their mama. I ain't cuss. I ain't cuss. But when I say hotter than an AK-47,
Oh.
because there was racial issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when my son calls me and say, "Mom, I'm getting discriminated,"
Oh
they took
yeah.
my stuff and said I did this and I did nothing, and told me if I don't, the school counselor, if you don't give me your password to your iPad,
Mm.
it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I don't think parents really want to come off like that. But when we feel our child is not being respected
Right.
and now feeling like they can't have a voice,
Right.
we are their voice. And sometimes we don't come out that way like it should. So
Mm-hmm.
I always like every year, me and my husband go through this moment. Like when we go to meetings, I don't say nothing. I let him talk because I know I'm a mama bear, but I know because I
Mm-hmm.
know what you're doing. I know the rules, and I think sometimes they try to take advantage,
Yeah.
especially with our Black and brown kids.
Yes.
Um, they don't feel like they have a voice,
Yeah.
and so the only way some parents know. I was at the IEP mama. The mama went off, and guess what? She had every right to.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let her child go to the bathroom. So
Oh
now
yeah.
he has a whole bladder. She had every right to
Mhm.
go off.
Yeah, your job as
That's
a parent is
medical
to
issue.
advocate for your child.
Right. So
Mhm.
I don't think, and so I don't think so I want to apologize in advance for mamas that may be that mama bear moment. But sometimes, we just want to let our kids know we support them because we go in there. I tell my son all the time, I always want to hear your side because there's three sides to a story. I'm
Yeah.
not going to just go with what they say. I want to hear you tell me what's happening.
Right.
And then we can take it from there. Now, you will get a consequence. Let me tell you something. You'll get a
Right.
consequence. However, I want him to be able to always feel comfortable talking to me. And so my husband got so strict with him that he needs to always write when there's an issue who, what, when, where, and why.
Mm.
My husband wanted him to know that. And I was like, Solomon, what? He's only 10. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm raising a man. I want
Yeah.
him to be able to advocate for himself and never feel like he don't have a voice. And so
Mm-hmm.
when he tell us, we can go back and say, well, this is what Nehemiah said. Like, tell us what happened. And a lot of times, if not 90% of the time, he told us absolutely everything
Everything.
correct. But if we believe what they said,
Mm-hmm.
he would have been on punishment,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I want to apologize in advance, Melissa.
I would say, in situations like that, especially when you get that feeling or, that intuition about anything that may go wrong in the school system, because you're dealing with humans all around, right? Um, I say in that situation, make your presence known in the beginning. Go meet with counselor, go meet, hey, can I meet with all of my child's teachers? Begin, you might be seen as um an overbearing parent, but that's okay. That's okay. Make your presence known, because then the expectation is set. And now we know, okay, so we know this parent, we know what this parent expects, we know how to handle this situation, we know how to be proactive in this situation. Make your presence known. That's okay. But just, come in pleasant as possible.
It's part
Because
of the educational team.
right.
This whole time I'm sitting here thinking, because the thing around our industry is mental health awareness is at an all-time low. But now I'm thinking, really, school counseling might be at a lower all-time low, because I'm looking at so many experiences, and I'm looking at the comments. I'm looking at our comments of how many people didn't know that they had access to the school counselor like that, and didn't know what their school counselor even did, and didn't know their school counselor can be a resource. We can go to WIF right down the street and ask them, hey, your school counselor will advocate for you. They're like, really? That's not known so much. So it's part of the whole educational group. And I think this conversation is good, because now it's helping condition people's minds to student teacher. It's student teacher and every other individual that is vested in that student's educational process until they leave and go on to their career. So I think that's good. And Tawanda already said it. Melissa, you and your team and school council, you guys do
very good work. Can you come to Georgia?
300 to 1? I don't even like the way that sounds.
I don't like that way that sounds.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Look, Algernon just joined. He's late. He's just checking us out. Shout out to Al for coming in. We're a little over an hour, so we're over our time.
Yeah.
But Melissa, thank you for getting in on this conversation to kick off our back to school season.
Yes.
Also, a shout out to all of the school counselors all around the globe.
We appreciate
all the educators. Yeah.
All the
educators are praying for y'all too. We appreciate everything y'all doing.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We pray that education just starts getting a little more value on both sides. That parents, that teachers value the education, but also that the educators value the need that they bring to the table, and hopefully that'll spin over to some of these school boards so they can loosen up some budgets
and maybe get y'all some money, because I think y'all should be making just as much as a doctor.
These people can get paid, man. Hey, look, this ain't the political standpoint.
It's a political segment, but we just want to put it out.
Right. But that's why so many educators are leaving.
The reality is, these counselors and
these
these teachers spend more times with your kids than you do.
True.
And I want to add something too, parents. Don't send your kids to school to get babysitted. That's not their job.
No, it's not their job.
It's not their job.
Not their job.
That is not their job. We are our first educators as parents.
Absolutely. So look, we didn't get, I don't know, I can't see if we got the 50 live viewers. Did we get the 50 live? Up. So look, we're gonna keep with the education model. You ain't make the grade, you don't get the reward.
And so this is what we are gonna do though. So Melissa, since I didn't get my 50 live, I'm sure I'm gonna get probably 500 by 9 o'clock tonight. That's gonna go back and replay, because that's what usually happens. We got to figure this time thing out, me and Terrence do. But I want to donate the $100 to you as the school counselor to put resources in your counseling, so they can have candy, snacks, or
toys,
toys, whatever. So I will make sure that Mr. Jones get it, because I thank you so much for your yes on today. You helped me as a mom, because Terrence will tell you I would get on meetings, I'd be hotter than the firecracker. He's like, no, that's not right. Terrence, how should I handle this?
Well, look, the scripture says that the two shall be one flesh. So I thank you for that $100.
No, that's for your wife.
This is for me and my office.
Her office. Sorry.
And my colleagues.
The scriptures also say that a woman's body is not her own, but her husband. So
her body, this is her mouth.
Dr. Wood,
Good night, everybody.
Well, I appreciate that gift. I
Thank you so
truly
much.
appreciate that.
So we're about to jump off, guys, but we really thank you all for joining us. Again, if you have some concerns, if you have other questions, send the questions, send us a message. We will get you an answer because we want all of our kids to go to school excited to learn and know that they're safe.
Yeah.
Reach out to the counselors. Meet your
Please. Yes.
Please meet your counselor.
We are here for you.
Meet your counselor. And don't forget to check us out at www.EY4PC.com. What you got, Melissa? You got one more? You stick your hand up.
I know. I was going to say, for the high schooler, if there are any high schoolers or parents listening, watching, schedules, just calm down. It's going to be all good. It's going to be okay. This is the I would say one of the worst parts of our school year, dealing with schedules in a high school setting. So just calm down. It's going to be okay.
Patience.
It's going to be okay.
A little patience.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And, no, I'm glad you brought that up because again, there's a lot of anxiety there. Hey, my child's schedule isn't straight. What they're working on it. Again, you guys heard 300 to 1.
To 1. Grace.
300 to 1.
Grace.
That's it.
Grace. Yeah, grace.
All right, so look, let's close out in prayer. We're gonna just pray over our counselors and our students. So, Father, we just thank you, God, that you are giving people resources. You are raising people up to be able to help deal with some of the nuances of the education that are a little bit outside of the classroom. And so, God, we lift up our school counselors today. We declare that you endow them with everything that they need to not only start off the school year right, but continue the school year right. We pray that you give them the capacity to handle their large caseloads, that you give them favor and grace as they're dealing with
Yes.
and even the parents who just may be a little anxious, may not understand, may have had some bad experiences. We pray that you give them a level of discernment and understanding, being able to listen with grace and give answers that will be helpful to the parent. We also pray over the students and the parents as they learn more about the school counselor in their school, that they form these relationships, that they're consistent in reaching out and receiving information, and they work as a partnership with their school counselor as the counselor helps to improve and grow their student. Because God, we know that you are the things that you do it through mankind. And so we ask that the gifts that you equip them with will be manifested and made bigger so that you would get the glory in these school districts and in these individual families. God, we just thank you for what you're doing. We declare that this school year will be the absolute best school year all over the nation, and that students all over the nation will come to you recognizing you are the one true God. And that your glory be made in every single middle, elementary, and high school and private school across the nation. We thank you, God, and we bless you for it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Melissa. Guess what? You got to come back, sis. You got to come back.
Yeah, everybody got to come back. When you come in, you got to come back.
After the first 90 days of school, you got to come back and say, listen, this is working. This is not working. Like, what we doing? Let's challenge our parents. Let's challenge our parents.
Sounds good.
Thank you all so much for joining. And guess what? I got to go. Y'all got to pick my son up from school, so I can't.
Got to pick him up. Thanks for everybody who joined in on the chat. We hope you answered your questions. We will see you guys next week for Therapy Talk Thursday.
And Mr. Sumler's going to take care of you, Terrence, to give the gift to your wife for me.
Awesome. The two shall be one. Thank you, Mr. Sumler.
I'm praying for you, sis.
All right. Bye-bye.